I wonder if the coughing lot of you know and try to know why you pull yourselves out of bed every Sunday morning and come here.
We'll be going out the back way today.
Do you need to come to Mass? Do you need the church? Ideally, the purpose of the church is to become obsolete. But until it is, we need the habit of coming together to collectively recognize that there is another world. But you come here with your mink caps, and your cashmere coats, and your blue hair.
Why, they...
Those things are your shackles. They are accessories you have made essential. You are essential.
Helen, he's very young and high-spirited. Sort of like a thoroughbred at the starting gate.
I come to this Mass because of you.
I know.
I do not come to be preached to.
Yes, but...
Now, this is an old movie called Mass Appeal from 1984. And it just goes to show you that women have always ruled the church. Matter of fact, I'll go even further. All religions are the worship of women. So this movie is actually quite subversive, because that young fella said the whole point of the church is to become irrelevant. In other words, she was saying, my goal is that I'm not going to be a priest. The church won't be necessary. Which proves that that's the only time I've seen an actual depiction of a priest. But anyway, this is a preamble to these two gentlemen who, of course, discuss the white knight situation in the church, right? So they want to get together with women, and they want fairness in their relationships with women. But other men, lo and behold, side with the women. Wow. What's the odds of that? Okay, this guy's talking to Dr. David Edgington. Let's get at the very beginning, and we'll critique.
So it seems like a lot of Christian men in particular today, especially Christian leaders, believe that any harshness towards women is harmful to them. So it seems like they see themselves as heroes when they shield women from things like rebukes and discipline and accountability in particular.
Well, dude, they're not shielding women. They're attacking men. That's what they're doing. Now, these tradcons, they'll never be able to frame it correctly.
But what are some of the costs to women for shielding them from accountability and that type of thing?
Yeah, woman worshiper, what's the cost to women for shielding them, right? These worshipers, they have to make it about women, right? Even though this is really an issue for men. So these two losers, they failed at the starting gate.
Thing.
Yeah, I think the first thing I would say is that it's a mirage. It's not that men are being harsh with women and then pastors are pushing back against them. It's simply that men are often trying to lead women, and the pastor or...
By the way, anyone new? Lead means servant. It means serving. These men are trying to serve these women, but these women, they're not interested in these guys and their servitude, right?
Or the counselor just rushes to her defense because she's sad, she feels hurt, she feels sorrowful, and he rushes to defend her. And
No. She's not sad or sorrowful. She's complaining, and this little attack dog is going after the man. He's not defending her. He's attacking the man.
then he goes after the man and says, "You're cruel, you're harsh." He says that. It's not that the man actually is harsh.
Yeah.
It's that the wife is claiming that he's harsh, and the woman's feelings are sovereign. And
well, the woman is sovereign, right? She is in charge of the church and the religion.
the pastor just blindly defends it. I mean, it's the white knight. If you understand the term white knight, that's what he's doing. He's just rushing to the defense.
It's not blind. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's pandering to her. Just like you guys want to pander these women. But he's out competing you, right? He's higher status than you, and he wants a harem around, and he's able to get rid of you guys who are competing with him for these women's attention. Dr. Edgington.
Of any woman that cries about anything. And usually, Matt, what happens is those pastors will meet with the wife without the man present. So she sets the whole narrative. In other
Well, duh. Why would the pastor bother with the man? He's not interested in him. These pastors are just like you and me and every other guy. We want a harem of women. So he doesn't need to talk to him. Also, she's the aristocrat. So if he's talking to the aristocracy, why would he include a peasant? That's what all of us are, including you guys. You're peasants. Why would he bother talking to a fellow peasant?
where she goes into the office deliberately without her husband, and she turns everything upside down. She inverts everything, and she's not only misleading, many times she's just downright dishonest and lying.
Finally, score one. You guys finally got a point on the scoreboard. She's lying. This is how you frame it. She's just a liar. Now, why would a woman lie about some guy she's supposedly in love with? I want you two tradcons to consider that.
And the pastor doesn't do his due diligence to say, wait a minute. I need to talk to him at the same time I'm talking to you. So don't tell me anything more. Let's get both of you in here.
What the hell are you talking about? He is doing his diligence. She's in charge. The women are in charge of the church. Without the women, there is no church. You might find the odd monastery, which will have only guys in it. But very few men are interested in that. Whether it's the family or the church religion, it always revolves around women. And that includes community. When guys talk about community, they mean women. So this pastor, he's just saying, I'm putting the attention to where it belongs.
At the same time.
Interesting. So it seems like there's an element of we're applying a framework to this that's not even really accurate. We say
Correct.
that it's harsh
Correct.
to rebuke or to discipline, but it's not even that's the case.
It's not even true. Yeah. See, that's the problem, isn't it?
But you guys don't rebuke or discipline women at all. You can't. How is a servant going to discipline the master?
We have to do the investigating. We have to do the due diligence and saying, well, let's make sure this is really what's happening. Because as I say in my books, when the woman's feelings are sovereign, whatever she feels is true, the man is going to get condemned, and he does get condemned. And so it's not only the wife doing it to the man, but it's the pastor doing it to the man. And then they go to the courts. You know, if the marriage is ended, then the courts do it to the man.
There you go. So this is also a legal issue for men. Now, what did this doctor do for men? He mentioned that he wrote books. So you're making money off of men's issues, but you haven't really done anything for men at all. And you have no interest in doing anything for men. You talking on this podcast is zero for these guys. None of you right-wing or conservative tradcons, none of you do anything.
And then the wife makes the children see the man that way.
Also, these should recognize, like he just said, this isn't just on a personal level. This is in the church and it's in the legal system. So it's everywhere. So these guys make it about the church, but this is an issue that is based on humanity's natural hostility to men.
She misleads them, and then parental alienation goes, and the man loses, 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 and he is just crushed.
Yeah.
And this is not a little problem. This is a massive epidemic in the church. I've counseled over 500 of these kinds of situations.
And outside of the church, what he just described happens to non-religious people, right?
And Matt, they are almost identical. So that's why when men have been through this and they read one of my two books, The Abusive Wife or White Knights and Reviling Wives, they say, this is exactly what's going on in my home.
Yeah.
There may be one or two details that are different, but this is exactly what's happening.
Well, doctor, they were stupid enough to get married. Marriage is an enslavement contract for a man, and he signs it willingly. Relationships with women is one of subservience. It just is. The woman, look, doctor, men want women, women don't care about men. So they're going to have all the power in the relationship. All a man can do is avoid the relationship.
And I just marvel at these guys, and I hear their stories, I listen to them. A lot of times the wives will not talk to me. I want to have the husband and wife to counsel them both. So I'm a nouthetic counselor, so I do.
Why would the wife talk to you? You're not giving them what they want.
Biblical counseling, and I've been doing it for 3 decades. But a lot of times the wife says, I don't even want to talk to this guy. So the men come to me and they go, this is exactly what's happening. What do I do? This is the hard part.
Yeah, this is the hard part. What am I going to do? And you know something? This guy has no answers.
Enter the picture after a lot of the devastation has already happened.
Yeah, and there's no question that it absolutely has been devastating for the men in those situations, especially. I'm sensing that there's quite a bit of hardness of heart towards men in general, just with our culture and even among many Christians.
No, it isn't a hardening of their hearts. This is the way it's always been. This is how clueless these guys are.
So many Christian leaders will hear that, and it seems like just not care. Their response will be something along the lines of, "Well, these men should just tough it out." And you mention a lot of these stories of this happening in your books, where men are simply told, "Just take it."
Yeah, these guys are male hostile, and these pastors recognize what the relationship between men and women are. It's the one where the man either obeys or he gets rejected. They recognize it. How come you can't?
Just take it, or be more loving, sacrifice more, be kinder, be more gentle. And the poor guy is going, how do you reason with someone that's acting like a demon? I mean, you can't just be more and more gentle. And, it's like, I've tried everything. Well, you gotta work harder at this. And it's like the pastor has never experienced anything like this. It's totally outside of him.
What are you talking about? Of course he is. If he has a wife, he's experienced the exact same thing. You think men don't understand themselves or other men? Come on, dude. This is denial of reality.
His realm of even possibilities, because he probably has a good wife.
Yeah.
Or sometimes, here's the other dynamic that happens. Sometimes the pastor just lives under the gaze of his own wife, or the elders under their wives. And so they are really leading the pastor and the husbands. And so,
there you go. You're finally getting it. You're finally admitting it. The pastor must have had a good wife and he just doesn't understand. Right?
don't ever criticize a woman. Don't ever try to hold a woman accountable. That's all we're talking about, just accountability.
Yeah.
That's all it is. I hold men accountable.
Give me a pat in the head for my servitude. That's their accountability, right? If you were to hold women actually accountable, you would force a true blue 50-50 relationship between women. But you can't. You're not able to enforce anything. So you accept it. And you guys, you're not even willing to do that.
I hold women accountable.
Absolutely.
It's not rocket science. It's not
Yeah.
really that hard. It's like this is the way I was trained, and I'm an old school nouthetic counselor. So that was the way that we were trained. But the modern training is more.
Yeah, but dude, you came from an earlier generation where women had the mask on. They were just as dominant. It's just that they faked liking you. That's the only difference. Things were better in the past. I prefer it now, even though I'm an old man like you. I prefer the mask being off and the truth being revealed.
Skewed and slanted where the woman is automatically the victim no matter what she's done, and if she's angry and bitter, they blame the guy. You go, why don't you hold the wife accountable?
Yeah.
Why don't you say, well, let's investigate this, but you can't be bitter and that's not okay. You can't be reviling your husband and we can't say that's okay.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about that sort of misappropriation of those passages for husbands being called to love their wives. Because I've been hearing that ever since I was a kid in church, that, the man needs to be the one who sacrifices and loves his wife. But there's very little, spoken about, the other side, about how a woman should behave. How did we get?
Of course there isn't, because the church is ruled by women. The religion, your religion, is a worship of women. It's a worship of the opposite sex. It's not Jesus Christ. People don't worship Jesus Christ. They worship women. Why do you think so many people go on about Mother Mary? Who is Mother Mary? She's nothing. She got knocked up. That was her giant contribution. And you don't know how many times I hear guys pray to Mother Mary. Like, who's she? She's just female. Well, she's not just female to them. Female is goddess. She's the actual goddess.
Those wires crossed to where we started to believe that allowing women to sin against men in particular is somehow a loving thing for them.
I think it's a very simple answer with that too. It's the invasion of feminism into every part of society, and it's in the church.
Wow. They also mentioned the word feminism. Score 2 for these guys, right? They got 2 on the scoreboard. The thing is, feminism infiltrated because it comes from women, dudes, and men. The average guy, like you two, are actually feminist. I bet you believe in the glass ceiling and the wage gap, and you believe in misogyny. The average person is a feminist. And it's just that the feminism is virulent now. It's more open, right? It didn't come from a meteorite from the stars. It comes from us.
It's in our seminaries. It's in our churches. It's in every denomination, Matt. It is not just this group or that group. It's Presbyterians, it's Baptist, it's Reformed, it's Arminian.
That's right. It's everywhere. It's not just the Christian religion. It's in the Muslim religion and the Jewish religion. All religions are the worship of the female. Every one of them. Well, every one of them that matters. I suspect Buddhism isn't. But very few people give money to Buddhists, do they?
I've counseled Pentecostals. I mean, it doesn't matter, but it's the infiltration, the cancer of feminism.
Mm-hmm.
Because just like you said, Ephesians 5, husbands love your wives as Christ loved the church. Okay, we should be doing that, right? We should also.
Oh, I'm annoyed with myself for not mentioning this earlier. That first clip I showed you, what he said, the young pastor, do we have dyed hair and wear, caps? In other words, he was talking to the women in the congregation, showing off their status. He said, this is about a spiritual journey, and you're bogging yourself down in the material world. And that's why all those women were coughing. They were saying, hey, get in line. You're supposed to give us a pat on the back and say our materialism is spiritual, right?
We'll be looking at the rest of the verse because it says that he might sanctify her,
Yeah.
having washed or cleansed her by the washing of water with the word. So sanctification is the goal, not just blindly being sympathetic and romantically loving, but sanctification, growing in holiness. And that means at times there needs to be correction.
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be discipline. So we only like to read the first part, just love her,
Yeah.
which we interpret to mean do anything that she wants.
Please
and
her.
anything that she, anything.
Well, it's not just an interpretation. That's what happens. I go by people's actions, not their words. Men pander to women. You guys pander to women. Right? Are you guys married? Did you not offer like an engagement ring? Did you not, buy the dinners and the drinks? Did you not pay for your women's attention? This is the default. This is how it works.
She please her, comfort her. Don't ever think that you can correct her. And I go, that's wrong. That is just absolutely wrong, because Christ corrects his church all the time, doesn't he? But let's even go back to even a more fundamental issue.
But Christ was a woman worshiper as well. I mean, that's why he became a cult leader, right? So he could get all the tail. Think Mary Magdalene wasn't banging Jesus? Right? Or how about that time the young woman wanted to massage oil into Jesus' feet? And Peter speaks up and says, hey, you should sell that oil and give it to the poor, like Jesus said, right? And Jesus said to Paul, he said, shut up. Or was Peter? I'm screwing them up. But he said, Peter, shut up. I'm important. The poor is always going to be with us. But this pretty young woman wants to massage my feet.
The verses just before Ephesians 5:25 and 26, right? Yeah. Every single time the house codes talk about this in Scripture, whether it's Ephesians 5, Colossians 3, 1 Peter 3, Titus chapter 2, it always begins with the wife submitting to the husband, always. And
so you guys got to understand the speak, right? Submission means that she accepts a man's servitude and shows a little bit of gratitude. That's what submission means in actual, practice.
The man is never told to submit to the wife. Never.
Yeah. There's an order of operations there.
Well, she's not going to serve him, is she?
So there's an order, right? And there's a reason for that order, because when a wife submits to a husband, and it says in everything, Ephesians 5:24, now as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit in everything to their husbands. Everything.
This is begging, guys. Dr. Edgington, this is begging. Well, what woman's going to listen to this podcast and take you seriously? How is this going to make women submit? Right? You going on this podcast and talking to this other guy, how's that going to affect this thing, the situation? It's not, is it?
Amazingly means everything, It's not submit only in the things that you want to submit to him in.
Or when he's getting things right. Yeah.
Yeah. And Peter clarifies that, doesn't he? 1 Peter 3, where it says, even those that are disobedient to the word, you still have to submit to them. And then in Titus 2, the wives, the older wives, should be training the younger wives to submit to their husbands so that, and the really alarming part, so that the word of God is not blasphemed. That's the...
All this means the older women in the past would get the younger women in line. They'd say, look, you can't act up too much. Otherwise, this guy might divorce you, and who's going to work for you? Right? But Dr. Edgington, that's the past. when women needed men's direct servitude. Now they get it indirectly. They don't need to deal with man directly. Men work and build society, and women just leech off it. They don't need to shack up with us to do that. That's why the older women gave up on it, because the older women said, hey, girl, you don't need to do that anymore. You don't need to pretend that you like this guy.
Word. It says reviled in most English translations, but the word is even stronger, so that the word is not blasphemed, because that means a woman is putting herself in the position of knowing better than God.
Yeah.
When she says, I don't have to submit to you.
Well, she is God. She's the goddess. So she does know better than God. She's the real goddess, so she knows better than the made-up God. Yahweh's nothing to guys. He's just some concept. But who he really reveres is the female walking on the street.
She's written her own Bible. It's a feminist Bible. It's a feminist God. And she gets permission to do this from so-called conservative pastors. And so the problem just keeps going.
Not so-called, they are conservative. This is why you guys have to come to admit to yourselves. Conservative men are feminist.
Just keeps, it doesn't end, because the poor guy, he's trying to get help. He loves his wife, Matt. This.
Yeah, but she doesn't love him. That's the issue that you're leaving out.
This is the
It doesn't matter if he loves her. If she doesn't love him, it's over.
missing parts. These are not nasty, mean, cruel, and they're not harsh guys. If anything, they're too soft. And yet,
Yeah, that makes women puke. A woman would more likely stay her entire life with a thug that beat her than a wimpy nice guy who treated her nicely. I mean, come on, that's female sexuality, Dad. Guys, doctor, right?
we don't blame the guy for that either. We say, okay, you need to toughen up and be stronger, but she has to be held accountable. You could be the perfect man, and it would not be enough for her.
Yeah.
So it's a big issue, and that's why my book is White Knights and Reviling Wives. We have to change things with the White Knight. In fact, I see there's only 3 options for the White Knight. They all begin with the letter R. He needs to repent. That's the preferable one. Repent and say, okay, I'm going to hold women accountable like I'm going to hold men. The second one is, if he doesn't want to do that, he should resign. He should not be a pastor. And then the third one is, he should be removed.
Now listen to this bullshit. You guys aren't taking any action whatsoever. What makes you think that some other man is going to do that for you? What's that religious saying? Remove the mote out of your own eye?
Church or the denomination should remove him. He's not a shepherd. He's a wolf.
Yeah.
So I see those are the only 3 options.
No, he's not a wolf. He's an attack dog. He's owned by the female congregation. A wolf actually has independent agency. These pastors serve the goddesses.
For the White Knight pastor. But then likewise, we could fix the White Knight pastor, but then leave the reviling wife and she'll just correct herself. No, she won't. She has to be held accountable.
Yeah.
Because she goes all the way back to Genesis 3:16. We say her desires are contrary to her husband. And again, as you and I know, not all women are like this.
No.
There you go, guys. This is a problem that affects all the churches, all the denomination, but not all women are like that, right? The ultimate cry of the desperate. Dudes, if all women weren't like that, or I should say, if not all women were like that, you would not be having this podcast. You'd be looking at guys and saying, hey, look, there's the good ones over there. Just ignore these bad ones and go for the good ones. That's what you'd be saying.
I know you don't believe that, and you know I don't believe that. If you've read my books, if you've listened to podcasts, not all women are like that. But the ones that are, they're getting cover for this. And they're getting permission to act wickedly and tear the house down, turn the children against the father. They go to court and they win almost without fail.
There you go. Again, you're mentioning the court. So this goes beyond the church.
So now a lot of young men get black pilled. They say, I'm not getting married. Forget about it. And I go, I can't really blame you, but that's not a solution, is it?
No.
Really, that's not a solution. Well, it's a better solution than what you're offering. These guys, they know they have no power. They know society won't allow them to do anything to women. So they do the only thing they can, and that is avoid the toxic relationship. Meanwhile, you guys aren't offering anything. You're saying, oh, well, we've got to remove these white knights. Yeah, really? Why don't you do that then? How come you haven't done anything about it then? You've written books to make money off these guys. Doctor, why don't you and this guy spearhead this? You guys take action. Show the guys how it's done. Go and remove these white knight pastors. Let's see you do it. If you can't do it, what makes you think other men can?
It's not. And that's been one of the biggest focuses that I've had on my YouTube channel recently. I kind of started off trying to offer guys solutions for, how to date women and all of that stuff.
So you're a pickup artist. All right. So women are rejecting men in the church and running riot, and you're going to offer men dating advice? This is what I'm talking about, guys. Like, these guys here think they're going to offer men solutions, or at least they're pretending that they are.
I kept getting this pushback that I didn't really understand at first about, hey, why is it always us guys that need to step up and do better? What about these behaviors that women are displaying? And
Yep.
The more I traced it back and I kept, going deeper and deeper and deeper, it seems to be a root of sin that we're not.
Deeper and deeper and deeper. Dude, there's nothing deep about this. It's all on the surface. It's right there for us all to see. Right? These guys are always talking about, this is the red pill nonsense, the rabbit hole. There is no rabbit hole.
Not really doing much of anything about. There's a few interesting ideas in what you just said that I kind of want to zero in on a little bit more. So going back to that idea of sanctification, specifically with how white knights handle that topic, I don't know that we're ever going to convince any white knights to stop white knighting, as long as they perceive and they feel like what they're doing is protecting women, that they're doing a good thing for women.
Well, they might say that, like you, but that's not how they actually feel. They feel aggression against the men they're competing with for these women. They know, they are conscious about what they're doing. They're pandering to women just like you guys do. They're seeing other men and saying, there's the guy I have to compete with. I'm going to take him out of the picture.
Correct.
So can you give us just like a bit of illustration from, your any stories you've seen in your counseling practice of what happens to these women when they don't engage in that accountability process to help them become more sanctified? What happens to these?
Yeah, let's see what happens to these terrible women. Like, they're going to suffer if they're not sanctified by men. Let's hear this.
Women.
Right. They get worse. These women get worse. When they are defended and protected by a white knight, they get worse. Because now you think about it, it's that they look at this and say, I can keep acting the way I am and I'm fine.
That's right. So how are they suffering? They're not suffering at all. They're loving it. They're having a great life. They're in charge of the church. Again, how are they suffering from this?
And I'm going to get defended and I'm going to get protected. It's
Yeah.
I was looking at this passage
You know, it's a tough life when you have to shoulder all this privilege.
earlier. It's Ecclesiastes chapter 8, verse 11. Because the sentence against an evil deed is not executed speedily, the heart of the children of man is fully set to do evil. That's exactly what we see.
Yeah.
Because we don't.
So how is this evil, though? Being in charge, how is that? That would be like saying the pastor is evil because the pastor's in charge. Right? So you guys, you see women as being evil just because they tell you what to do? I mean, you're willing to serve them anyway. So I don't see the problem here.
Hold evil accountable, they get worse.
Mhm.
It's that way in every realm. It's not just with women. It's that way with men. It's that the way with nations. It's that.
Why are you going on like this? This is an issue that affects men, not women. So this is more of this olive branching, guys. We men are bad too, If you're going to tackle this issue, which I know you're not really, but if you want to pretend you're going to tackle, at least keep on point.
Way with politicians. It's that way with lawbreakers in society. If you don't enact justice, things are going to get worse. So why would we think, well, with women, it's going to be different? We don't need justice with them. We'll just let them have their way. And I go, it's just obvious. It's so logically obvious. And yet
But it is different with women. These women are in charge. They say that you guys are the servants. You can't tell the masters what to do.
put women in this sinless category.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not.
Yeah.
Well, of course, look, the God cannot commit any sin. When Yahweh destroys Sodom and Gomorrah, that's good. Genociding people, that's good because it's God. Women are the goddesses of the church, so they can't sin.
And so it's destructive because now the woman has the support of the church, of the pastor.
Well, it's not destructive to her. The only thing being destroyed is that your servitude is being rejected. You are being rejected. She's not interested in you. That's all. The only thing that's been destroyed here. Now, she's also harming the man. I got to admit that. And of course, you'll lump the family in, right? There's also the kids are important, right? Always hiding behind the children.
Many of these churches, they will kick the man out of the church because he's not loving his wife enough.
Well, they're kicking him out because he's surplus. People don't like men. That's why they kick it out. These pastors, if they had their way, they'd have a congregation 100% made up of women. They would surround themselves with nothing but women. All the men to the pastors are excessive or excess. The only important thing they want from the men is money. The men, offer their donations, and then they leave and get lost. And the pastor can surround himself with women. That's how male psychology works.
He's not sacrificing enough. I don't see you being repentant, husband.
Or what did he do to cause her to sin, or that type?
Exactly. That's all what it is. And so what they're saying is he's not repenting for her sin. That's basically what they're saying.
Yeah, they victim blame. Guys get victim blamed all the time.
saying. They would
Yeah.
never say it that way, but that's what they're doing. And Matt, this is not one or two cases like this. This is hundreds. I mean, I see it over and over again. I go, and I even talk to some of these
These are hundreds of cases, but not all women are like that. Right.
pastors and elders, and I say, how can you not see this? How can you not do? Many of them will protect the woman. The pastor will take the woman into his own home and the children, clear out the house of the husband, and
There you go. You're admitting it. The pastor will take this woman into his own home. And of course, kids, because they're important. So this guy, this pastor, he wants a harem of women. He's stealing another man's woman. Well, actually, he's being a better servant. That's what's going on. And he gets to bask in his goddess's aura. He's gotten rid of the competition. Right.
the wife, and never even include the husband because they say it's dangerous. She doesn't feel safe. There's another one of the magic words, right?
Being
I
the
don't
operative.
Yeah, it's a lie. That's true. Yeah.
feel right. I don't feel safe. It's not that I'm not safe. It's I don't feel safe. It's like your feelings are driving everything in this.
No, her feelings aren't driving anything. She's just lying. You guys said it earlier. She's just lying. And guys run with the lie because they don't like the other guy. The male pastor has contempt for his male congregants. He doesn't like them. He wants them gone.
And a man needs to stand up to a woman like that and say, I understand you feel that way, but you can't control people with your feelings.
I understand. He's going to stand up for himself and say, I understand. Right. Wouldn't standing up for yourself mean coming out and saying, hey, you're a liar? I'm not dealing with your lies anymore. But still, what guy's going to do that, dude? You just got through saying the court system's against him. Like, men have zero power. And again, these guys, these two weaklings, they're not spearheading anything, are they? This lame this doctor, he's writing books and selling them and making money off these guys. Who are you to talk about anything?
It's not right. It can be
And what are you a doctor of anyway?
sinful. So to answer your question, it is devastating. It destroys not just the marriage, it destroys the children too, because the children are living in this and they see this going on and they're just,
Well, the wife doesn't care. The children are just extensions of herself in her mind. And husband doesn't, he cares to some degree, but he agrees with the wife. He believes, you do too, all you conservatives believe the children are extensions of the wife.
just like, what's going on in my own home?
Mm-hmm.
And then moms typically spend more time with the children than dads do, just by the nature of things.
Yeah, what's the nature of things? The man sent out to work because he's a servant, and the aristocrat, which is the wife, stays home, and she doesn't work. And the kids are used as an excuse for not to work.
And so
I mean, whose fault is that, doctor? This is the way things are. This is what men accept. Also, they don't really have the power to change things anyway. What guy wants a relationship where he has to force women to behave well to him?
is able to indoctrinate those children into how evil the father is. The children are innocent, they believe it, and then they turn away from dad too.
Wow, that really says women love men, doesn't it? That she's willing to lie about her husband. Right. That's love. Right.
So dad loses his marriage, he loses his children. I mean, imagine that. Imagine someone, I don't know if you have children, but imagine someone just taking your children away from you and said, you can't talk to them anymore. What would that do to you as a man? What would that do to you as a father?
I have a son on the way, and yeah, that's a thought.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Well, guys, accept it. This has been going on for decades now. No group of men have actually stood up and decided to change the laws. You guys could change the laws, right? Oh, sorry, you're just focused on the church, right?
He'll be here in a couple of months, but yeah.
All right. Good for you, man. And, and then the man goes to court.
Well, that's great news. You're admitting that women have all the power in a relationship, and you're going to have children, which he's going to use against you. Wow, that's quite a celebration.
Yeah.
And he loses financially. And most of these men would say, I would give everything that I have in my bank account if I could have my children. If I could just have a relationship with my children. It's not about money, but this is wicked too, that they're losing financially as well. And then they lose their standing in the church. I made it on.
Get that? They lose their standing in the church, guys. As soon as these goddesses reject the mere mortals, the church goes along. Wow.
Unbelievable. The only pastors that really get this are the ones that have been through it themselves.
Yeah.
In other words, the pastor that has a reviling wife himself, and then they call me up and they say, hey, I need help. I
Really? So you expect these pastors to do something when they're powerless? If they're coming to you, that means they have no control of the relationship either. So why are you going on about getting rid of the white knight pastors?
understand what you're talking about. I go, man, I'm so sad that you had to go through this in order to have your eyes opened. But the average guy can't see it. Here's another angle. I think you would probably agree with this, is that a lot of these reviling wives are stay-at-home, homeschool wives.
There you go. All these reviling wives are stay-at-home. Yeah, they're stay-at-home leeches. The man works, they don't. He's working for her. Big surprise.
The homeschool moms, so they're homeschooling their kids. They're traditional.
Yeah.
They're tradcons. They're.
Thank you for admitting it. So these feminist women are traditional conservatives. Thank you for admitting that. That's what I've been saying all along.
Wear the nice flowery dresses. They'll bake sourdough bread. They'll make their husband a sandwich. And,
That's right. You guys can't claim they've got the nose ring or the studs or the tattoos or the dyed hair. The average woman who you guys claim is so good are the ones that are just as vicious as the so-called feminist, right?
they'll homeschool the kids, and about half of the situations that I counsel, about half of them are traditional stay-at-home homeschool moms. About half of them. So that's not the answer either. It's not, okay, we just get them into a traditional role and they'll get it. It's still in the heart.
Yeah.
It's the rebellion in the
Yeah, women are all the same, aren't they?
heart. And I do have women that I counsel, about 1 out of 4 that will repent. And they
Wow, 1 out of 4, but not all women, right? Not all women, just 25%.
say, you're right. I never saw it that way. I never realized how important submission is. I never really understood how to apply the word of God.
So all this woman is saying is that, yeah, I'm not that hostile to my man, and I recognize, I should give him some appreciation for his servitude. I shouldn't beat my servant too hard. Wow, that's your idea of success? Some woman pretending she likes her husband? This is puke-inducing.
About 1 out of 4 that I counsel, they turn and their marriage is reconciled. That's a beautiful, wonderful thing. The
Yeah.
other 3 out of 4, they say, no way, I'm not doing that.
3 out of 4. There you go. Yeah.
I'm not going to allow this man to continue to abuse me. And I go, how is he abusing you? What is he doing? If it's dangerous, I want to know, and I'll report it
More olive branching. More olive branching.
to the authorities because I have a responsibility. If this man's beating you up or brandishing weapons, then,
Right. Yeah.
I've got to step in and do something for this poor woman.
Why would you even mention that, considering this is what goes on? You're pandering to the opposite sex again. And again, you think these so-called white knights are going to change their ways? You can't even overcome your own.
But I haven't had one yet that the wife was physically in danger.
Yeah, and so those 3 out of 4, those tend to just get worse from there.
They get worse. Get worse.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then it's not just families that are destroyed. Like when this starts happening more and more, this scales up.
You bet.
It starts
generational.
It's
generational.
Yeah, because it's been happening for at least the last 3 to 4 generations, and sort of
No, it's been happening since the dawn of humanity. The only difference now, whatever your name is, well, what is his name anyway, guys? Effective purpose. Oh, he's effective, right? Nothing says effective like doing nothing. Anyway, continue.
increasing. Like you were mentioning earlier that people, they like scripture is clear about this from start to finish. People have a bent towards sin. They like when there's nothing.
So I got to back that up again because I lost my train of thought.
Worse. They get worse.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then it's not just families that are destroyed. Like when this.
Oh yeah. What I meant to say, effective, is that women have taken the mask off. Human beings haven't changed at all. It's just that our technological society has become easy enough, safe enough, that women don't need to deal with men directly and they can be honest. That's what's going on here. He's acting like, hey, this is all brand new. This isn't brand new. The atom bomb is brand new. But the human animal, that she has been around forever. But continue.
There's no guardrails, nobody talking to them about it, no pastor speaking into their lives, rebuking them, exhorting them or encouraging them. People will default to doing what feels best and what they want. And they're going to, sin is going to get in there and start whispering.
No. It's not sin, dude. These women feel what's best for themselves. That's right. They're self-interested, just like you. And they realize that they have massive privilege in the church. There's no incentive to change that. Why would anyone give up privilege? For you, where's the incentive? There's none. Now, this goes on for more than double the time. Like, I've only got the first 20 minutes. I believe I'm going to start repeating myself over and over again. So I'm going to stop it here. And all I got to say is, Effective Purpose and Dr. Edgington, you guys aren't going to take any action. So what makes you think that other men are going to? You guys aren't spearheading anything. You're just talking to each other on the internet. Sorry, there's nothing else to say with you guys. You guys are conservative, woman-worshiping losers. And you're not going to provide any solutions whatsoever. You want to change the world? Get off your asses. Do something then. Go around and try and force things. Confront these pastors. See what happens. Now, we all know these guys aren't going to do that. So you know what would happen. Anyway, we'll end it here.